Welcome to Shomach Shom on the Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Mem. The Gemara in Mudalev says that the word Bo'il Moed that says B'chatoy Supremius that teach you that what? She'im nifchetos tikor shel heichol lo hayamazeh. If the ceiling of the heichol is broken, you don't do hazah. That's what you learn from this pasuk. The Baal HaKli Chemdo, he wrote Ha'oros on a sefer which is called Hilchos Eretz Yisrael, which was miyuchas the Baal HaTorah. And there in these Ha'oros, he brings the following. The Rambam paskins that we could do Korbanos even without the Beis. Makrivim al Pishein Beis, the Kedusha Rishono, Kitchel Shaitzof, Kitchel Osilovoi, the Kedusha remains, and therefore you could do Hakrova even without a house. So Tzibes Refran brings a question. Because we learn, the Gemara tells us, that Shlomim Sheshachtoi Koidim Psichas Daldos HaHeichol, if you makriv Korbanos, before you open the doors of the Heichol, Psulim. So he says, if you don't have over here the Beis Hamikdash, so you don't have the doors open. So how can you be yoytze the Korban? So he says, you have to say, the pshat is that if you hold the Kedusha Rishon Kitchel Shais or Kitchel Sidlavoy, that means it's considered to be as if Beis Hamikdash is built. So it's as if it's there. That's why it's considered to be that the doors are open. But he asks, what about our Gemara? Our Gemara says that if you have the Beis Hamikdash, but the roof is broken, so then you can't do a krova. So if so, how can you do a krova without a Beis Hamikdash? It's as if at least as if the ceiling is broken. So it says the Baal HaKli Chemdo, really it's a ha'ara of the Rashba Meseches Shvuos Daf Zayin. And he asked the question, how can you do a krova without opening the doors? And the Rashba answers, when you have the Beis Hamikdash, then you have to have the doors open. If the doors are closed, you can't do a krova. But if there's no Beis Hamikdash, so then you don't have to open the doors. And that's the same thing applies over here. When you have a bais, you have to make sure the roof is intact. But if I don't have a house at all, so then we don't care about the roof. But continues the Kli Chemdo and says, the shaila is, what does it mean that I don't have a house? Does it mean that structurally I'm missing the building? So then you don't have all these requirements? Or it means that physically you can't build a house. And he brings, there was a few times in the history of Klal Yisrael that sometimes they tried or they had the ability to build Beis Hamikdash again. He brings in the year 4349, there was Beis Hamikdash that was built with the king of that time, Julius, allowed them to build the Beis Hamikdash. But then there was some earthquake and the Beis Hamikdash got destroyed. The next day there was a fire that came and burned whatever was left. So you see that sometimes we're able to build Beis Hamikdash physically, and the Goyim allows to build it. So says the Kli Chemdo, that'll be nefkamina. If you could build a house, just you're not building it for whatever reason, maybe you don't know how to build a house, so then maybe there's a problem that you need to have, you have to have the roof. Now just to point out, the publisher of the Sefer, he brings another nekuda. He says maybe all that you need to have a roof is only Chatoy Supremius, like we have in our Gemara. But if you talk about Korbanos that are outside, you don't have to have a roof. So immediately that's the reason you can make many Korbanos, except Korbanos Supremium. And he adds the Ha'ara, which many Achronim point this out, that the Rambam that writes you have to have a roof, he writes it only in the Hilchos Yom Kippurim. And the end of Hilchos Yom Kippurim says the Rambam need to have a roof. He doesn't mention all the Chatoy Supremius. So he stays with the question. If you look at the Sefer Yidei Moshe, he wants to say a Mahalach, that only by Yom Kippur, if you don't have a roof, you can't have a Korban. But in Chatoy Supremius, even if you don't have a roof, you can still have a Korban, b'di'evet. So according to this Mahalach comes out, of course you can have Korbanos even without Beis Hamikdash. There's very specific Korbanos you can't have Chatoy Supremius, or maybe even only Yom Kippur. The roof is required only for that. Anyone who wants to join or sponsor the Shomach Shova Shiurim, please email shomachshova@gmail.com.